All right, folks, we're going to get started here. Thanks for your patience, and also thank you for signing on. We have about 70 participants online. I think that's sufficient to get us going. All right, so you are in the election security funding listening session. So this is basically around the new funds that we received at the Election Assistance Commission. My name is Kinza Ghaznavi, and I'm the grants director here at the EAC. And I'm going to be walking you through these funds and the process for these funds in this presentation. We do have an agenda to organize ourselves. We're going to be talking about the availability of the funds, who's eligible, the match requirement, reporting requirements, what the process looks like to get these awards through back to your state, and allowable uses and resources. And of course, at the end of the meeting, we will open it up for questions. So I appreciate you entering your questions in the chat. Is my sound a little bit better now? Okay, we're going to proceed. So as you are aware, we did receive $75 million under 101 funding to make available to the states using our voting age population formula. We've already distributed this allocation and created a chart and posted it to our website. So if you want to get ahead and see what is available to you to request, that is posted to our website. We also sent it out on Friday to our state contacts. So there was a change in the minimum payments because the appropriation level is 75 million. Congress lowered the minimum requirement payment to the territories to 200,000 and for states to 1 million. So as I said, this is formula funding. This means that eligibility is limited to what we consider our states. And states for us are defined as the 50 states, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, the US Virgin Islands, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. And so when we say states, we mean that group. And the states can, of course, re-grant or distribute these funds to local election districts and offices at your discretion. I will point out that awards to states that are delinquent on any EAC grant requirements will not be processed when the state has submitted delinquent documents until you have submitted those delinquent documents. You would have received that information on Friday. If you do have any items outstanding, please get those into us as soon as possible. I'm having some folks say they can't hear anything. So, and some people are saying the sound is fine. How is it now? I've changed the mic. Okay, let's hope that everybody hears it. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you for the feedback. So let's talk about matching requirements. This should not be a surprise to you. You know, our election security funds increased their matching requirement to 20% in 2020. In 2022, that carries, and we're still at 20%. So 20% of the federal award would be the required match. States have 2 years to identify this match. That would be March 16, 2024. And identify, you know, is basically letting us know that you know where you're going to match this from. And then you have the full grant period to expend that match. One thing I do want to point out is that this match, if it's cash match, it has to be deposited in the state election fund. In-kind match is tracked as the same as cash contributions. And then, of course, in-kind is different than your existing budget authority. If you're going to use your existing budget authority to meet the match, you also want to document that, and we would be reporting that under the recipient share on your federal financial report. Want to make sure that the match that you are identifying is not the maintenance of effort match, and it is not the state match that you've already identified for your 2018 or 2020 match for the election security fund. So this has to be additional funds. And of course, our 4 territories, American Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, and US Virgin Islands are exempt from the match requirement. So this does not apply to them. So if you had a chance to read the legislation that came out, the appropriation bill, there are additional reporting requirements added in, and we must follow those. So the appropriation establishes that there would be quarterly reporting. So at the end of the quarter, ending December 31st, March 31st, and June 30th, we're going to need quarterly financial reports. We're also going to need your annual report for the period ending September 30th. And that is what you've been doing and you're used to. That's the report that's due on December 29th. So that will carry on. One thing you're losing in this is that there will be one less mid-year progress report. So we are taking that off the table because of the increased financial reporting. So the progress report will only be annual, but the financial reports will be 4 times a year. So I've made this little chart and table here to help you out if it helps to keep track of when things are due for election security. I also want to say, if you have a grant from the EAC, in addition to election security, the timelines have not changed for those grants. So there will still be mid-years and annual only for those. For election security, we're moving to quarterly, and this is what it would look like on a quarterly basis. So last Friday, we issued award packets state by state. So everyone should have received a notice of grant award that amends the existing election security grants to add the additional funds. The grant award letter, it tells you that you can start to incur costs against these funds as of March 16, 2022. That's the day after the Consolidated Appropriations Act was signed. So in that packet, you would have received the templates that you need and the directions that you need to proceed with requesting these funds and getting to disbursement. What we ask you to do is by April 22nd, give us your state request letter and sign off on the standard certifications. So your state request letter is going to tell us how much of the total allocation you want. More often than not, people request the whole amount. They don't hold back on that because they're available until expended. But we don't know your scenario, so it might be different. So we always frame it as that is the max that you can request. So we need to know for sure that you want the max. If you did not get an email on Friday and you are somehow on this call, that should be a flag for you that the contacts for your state are not current with the EAC, and you should email us who should be receiving communications regarding our grants at the state level, and we will be happy to update that. So continuing to talk about the awards process here, as I've said, there are formula, they're non-competitive grants, and like the 18 and 20 process, the states needs to submit a narrative overview of the activities that will be supported with the funds. And we need a line item budget. And this is a combined budget. So when we get additional funding for election security, it's a supplemental funding. It's a supplemental grant. So we are adding funds to your existing program because the activities, the sort of the parameters of the program are exactly the same. So 18, 20, and 22, we want to see a combined budget of how you will spend those funds. And you just have to submit one budget. Now, the guidance for how to do the program narrative and the guidance for the budget was sent out on Friday, but it's also posted on our website. And the deadline for that is Monday, May 2nd. If you need any kind of extensions or you have some kind of problem in meeting those deadlines, please reach out to us before the deadline to let us know what's going on and what kind of assistance or support you need. After you process all of those things, and I know you have clearance levels that you have to go through to get these materials back to the EAC, we will start to work on disbursement. So to be in this mode, we have to make sure that your SAM account is renewed and active before we can make any payments. We have to make sure that the UEI number assigned to you in SAM is correct and that we are issuing the payment to the correct UEI. So this used to be the DUNS number. If you recall, we did send out an alert back in the fall that the federal government is moving away from DUNS and we are adopting the UEI. So SAM has already automatically assigned everybody a UEI. You just have to pluck it from that website and store it and know what it is for your grants. And that's how we will be issuing these payments. So that's something, we have sent out some communication. Most of you are active, some of you are working through it. But before we get to disbursement, we have to make sure this step is complete. Of course, we're also going to be waiting on the prior documents that I talked about from the states before we do any kind of disbursement. I want to just remind everybody that we at the EAC provide these funds as an advance. That means you're getting a lump sum amount sent over to your treasuries, and they must be deposited in an interest-bearing account because they are in advance. And as they are deposited, they must earn interest if there's an interest in that year. And then if you have a state election fund, that's where your HAVA funds are going. If you, for some reason, don't have a state election fund, reach out to us so that we are aware of that for your specific case. But, establishing a state election fund was part of the early years of the 251 program. So we expect that that fund is continuing and that these grants are deposited in those interest-bearing state election funds. All right, so because these are the same grants, the 18 and the 20 and now the 22, the categories of use and allowable uses are the same. So this is for the improvement of the administration of elections for federal office. That includes enhancement of election technology, making election security improvements authorized under Section 101, 103, and 104 of HAVA. So consistent with that, states have discretion how they want to divvy up their expenditures within our general categories. We also have other as a category, and we do require that there's a budget and to start off the grant. And we understand that budgets change over time, especially for grants that last this long. So you have the ability to do a budget amendment and a request to add categories that were not originally anticipated, and or move, if you're moving more than 10% between categories, then you want to come in and ask for a budget amendment as well. So you guys should be pretty familiar with what is allowable use. However, new scenarios come up all of the time. You can always reach out to the grants team at grants@eac.gov if you need clarification. And then you can also browse our frequently asked questions where we post questions that we receive and have made policy decisions on. So that gets us to, how can you get in touch with us? Grants at EAC.gov or HAVA funding at EAC.gov should be your main points of contact emails. The reason we point you to our inboxes is that the entire team gets these emails instead of sending it to an individual who could be on leave, stuck in meetings, or over, doing other projects, and then our response to you is delayed. We want to avoid that as much as possible and get you to the right point person to respond to you. So please send emails to these boxes instead of our individual emails. You can always send individual emails and copy the boxes if that makes you feel your message is being targeted, that's fine. But just make sure to include your communications to these boxes. Of course, we do our best to post things on our website so that you have them handy and you don't have to dig through your emails to find them. So our election security program has its own page on our website. All of the award package materials are posted there already and available if you need to reference them. And then in general, we have the grant section of the EAC website, which includes the frequently asked questions and the guidance around reporting. That's it. Let's get to questions if you have any. I will check out the chat. So we had a question about the guidance on the narratives in the budget. It was included as a link in the document. So instead of attachments, there are links that you can go to the website and access those. I see that Kyle has responded already. Thanks, Kyle. So those are all posted to our website, so you can find them there. Thank you, Ariel, for sending that as well. So for this year, you have received information about your mid-year reporting that is related to your current awards. So you continue to meet that requirement. Those reports are not related to this award. You have not even received this award yet. So this is going forward. So right now you would be reporting on your election security program as it stands without the 22 funds. And you would be reporting on your other grants if you have them, like if you have the 101 or the 251 for the mid-year. So this does not disrupt your current reporting schedule for the mid-year reporting. And Andrew, just to confirm, yes, 18, 20, and 22 should be combined for reporting purposes. We don't care if you separate them into separate bank accounts or you put them together. That's your accounting preference. But because we're expecting you to put into the state election fund, it's that really depends how you set up your state election fund. So that's really important that you understand that the EAC is asking you to roll up your reporting into one, but how you do the accounting on the back end is really what benefits you and makes it easier for you. Some states prefer to keep 18, 20, and now 22 separate. It's easier for them to combine just for reporting and keep it separate. And others want to just pull it all together into one, and that's okay as well. The question is there a program narrative once a year in the financial list quarterly for election security after this mid-year? Yes. So don't skip the mid-years. The mid-years were a separate program and we're still on time for that. And those are still due at the end of this month. But once this award is made, going forward, election security mid-year reports for 2023 will fall off and you will just do FFRs quarterly. We will, as we get closer to the deadline, send out information reminding everyone what's due, when it's due. These funds are just like 18 and 20. They are available until expended. There is no deadline to spend. Do we have any more questions? Laura, yes, you have 2 years to identify the match, and then you have until um, the funds are spent to expend the match. We have a question about matching HAVA money with in-kind value of earned media. Um, yes, that is the same as it was before. If you have that as an in-kind value, you can definitely count it. There is guidance around that, so you may want to come in and ask us if you haven't asked us before. If you've asked us before, the guidance is the same. If you have a question, you can also unmute your line and ask it, or you can type it into chat. The next question is, when we identify the match, it will be the recipient FFR share. Do we need to identify it as part of our narrative? You do have to identify it as part of your progress report at the end of the calendar year. Yes. I just want to separate out narrative from progress report because we do require a program narrative when you request these funds. That's different from the progress report, which is due in December 29th. Since we'll be spending HAVA 20 funds, do we do quarterly reports if we're not spending HAVA 22 funds? So that would be great, but that's not how we see the program. We see election security as one program. So after this mid-year, quarterly reporting will start. Since you're rolling up all 18, 20, and 22 into one report, you will be doing quarterly reports going forward. Question about allowable use. Salaries at county level can be used in kind, correct? So it really depends on the salaries. What are those individuals working on? Are they working on federal elections? How much of their time? So if you have a question about salaries, I would write an email so that you can get specific guidance around your specific scenario. If we know our match amount, can we identify that on our first quarterly FFR? Yes. So your FFRs will be pre-populated with the required match amount. What you're identifying is what is the source of your match and whether you spent any of it. Kevin, your question is, are we expecting that the election security funds will be reported quarterly starting June 30th, due July 30th? We have to make a decision on that still when the first quarterly report will start. It really just depends on disbursements. If we get our disbursements out before that, then that might happen. So we will communicate that out to the field once we have a decision on which report will be the first. Any more questions? All right, so I'm not seeing any more questions, but as I kind of wrap this up, if you think of anything, go ahead and type it in the chat or unmute yourself. This is not your last opportunity to ask questions as you work through the paperwork, or if you have any issues getting those documents together, or if you have any concerns about your compliance status with the EAC, please reach out to us at grants@eac.gov, and we'll be happy to answer and work with you through this. It is very exciting to have additional funds, and we are hoping that these will be beneficial to you on the state level. Please keep in touch with us as you go through this. We are all here. We also have welcomed back Risa from her leave, so we are a complete team at this point. We appreciate all the work that you guys are doing out in the field, and we're here as a resource to you. With that, I don't see any more questions. This recording will be posted to our website, and this PowerPoint will also be posted as a PDF for you in the same section on the election security page where you see the award packet. So thank you very much. And I'm sorry for those of you who are having audio issues, and I hope the transcript at the bottom is helpful. Thank you.